Hi, welcome back to CES 2012. Today we've seen quite a few chassis from different companies, but perhaps the most interesting one is one from Silverstone. I'm here with Tony. This box of tricks does something quite clever, so go for it, show us what it is.
Okay, this is the FT03 Mini. Last year we showed off the FT03. That was a Micro-ITX case with a very similar form factor, but this is actually half the size of the FT03, so that's why we call it FT03 Mini. So it works very similarly to FT03 in many aspects. So you get this very nice clean look all the way around. There's no longer a side vent over here like on the FT03. There are a few sacrifices we have to make the case this small. One of the first things that the motherboard now is only Mini-ITX as opposed to fitting Micro-ITX. And the power supply, you can see from here, fits only now SFX power supply. So what we did differently is we took our original Mini-ITX sort of gaming case called SG05. We turned it vertical, made some few adjustments, wrap it around this very beautiful aluminum side panels. And they are very easy to take off.
Yeah, but I love the way it comes off. It just unclips off, doesn't it?
I'll show you here. So you have to take both the front and the rear off like this. This way you can release the side panel on one side like that. And that's it. That gives you lots of room to access the internal components.
So in about 5 seconds, you're done from a complete PC to the innards.
Yeah. And on the bottom, we also made it really easy to remove the fan filter. So I have to press and release. So you can see here we implemented a 140 millimeter overall air penetrator fan. So the cooling is going to be pretty good.
And is that bigger than the fan on the FT3 standard?
It's bigger than the fan that we use in FT03, where we had to angle in certain different directions to get airflow. So it's much simpler with this case that we have just one fan blowing straight up.
But you say there were some restrictions, obviously SFX power supply,
Right.
but people buying this kind of chassis will know that anyway. What about in terms of graphics, given that it's not a huge enclosure?
So it has the same similar limitation to the SG05 chassis that we had before. So that's about 9 to 9.5 inches of graphic card that you can use inside.
And how much and when?
We expect this to cost around USD 130. And should be available sometime in April, actually March, if we're pretty quick with it.
Okay, so you guys are also pretty popular for HTPCs.
Right.
And we talked about this earlier, but you got a couple of new ones that we first saw at Computex, but now they're finished. So let's just go over to those. Okay, Tony, we've moved over, HTPCs, and you've got one example behind you which is new for this year. Can you talk about it, please? Okay,
this is our GD08 HTPC case. This is sort of a redo of what we had before, called the LC17. It's a full-size ATX HTPC case. And back then in 2005, when we released the LC17, it was one of the best sellers that we had. The reason for it being that it was the only case with that type of form factor to accommodate up to 6 hard drives and with very good cooling included. What we aim to do here with the 2012 edition of the case, the GD08, is to take what was good about LC70, which is the form factor, the standard ATX size, but improve every aspect. So this can now fit up to 8 hard drives. And if I open up here, you can see and up to 5 120 millimeter fans inside. And all of them are filtered. So you can see filters on the side are very easily removed. And also filters on the bottom. Okay, so you can see the fin filters on the bottom. They can be easily removed, just like the ones on the side. Okay, and what we do here also is there's a cable management box. So this is replaceable. So that's how you get the 5th 120 millimeter fan in here if you don't use this. But it's, we think, pretty nifty here. This way you can store and manage your cables. And makes it easy for you to put the hard drive cage back in. And because this cage fits up to 8 hard drive and 2 optical drive, we're building these 2 steel handlebars for you to easily remove them. Okay. And you also notice one more feature that we cut out this section of the drive cage so that cooling fan down here can blow air directly onto the hard drive, despite being very tightly packed here with the hard drive installation. Okay.
So Tony, one question. Your ATX or your chassis for HTPCs tend to be large, and most people assume that if you're going to have an HTPC in the living room, it's got to be something small behind the TV or somewhere you can't see. What's the rationale for you guys to have something which is pretty obvious and pretty big?
Right. Contrary to what many people believe, most HTPC cases that we were selling before were full-size ATX versions. And we found out that a lot of customers, they simply just want to have a full PC in their living room, just like they do their, on their desktops. So they didn't want to strip down. They don't want any less feature than what they had before. So that's why these full-size cases really are good for them. They can put whatever they want. The high-end CPU, the high-end graphics card. So that's why they are more popular than some of the smaller cases.
So through this year and next year even, you're going to persist with full-scale, large living room PCs?
Yeah, these two are brand new. We do have HTPC cases in many other sizes too. So we think it's about time that we updated the full-size ones to the more modern specs.
Right, thanks very much, Tony. So that's 2 chassis from Silverstone. We're going to find finally more chassis today, but until then, do check back for more from Hexus.